Okay, so this is a short video just to explain how curved running or non-linear running is going to work in your programs. So what we've got set up here is 4 cones. So the number might change. Typically, we'll start with 4. We may do more or less. Obviously, just refer to your program. But this is just a general baseline sort of concept of how curved running is going to work. So what we're going to do is, as you can see, we set up 4 cones in a straight line. And all we're going to do is use these cones as our objects that we're going to run around. So obviously for this curve running drill in this particular scenario, all we're going to do is we're going to start on one side of the cone. And all I want you to do is, as fast as possible, is to sprint around these cones, going through them like a slalom, running the course for whatever the distance is in between cones, which will all be specified in your program. So this is your basic start point for curved running, is to run in a straight line. Obviously the cone's going to be in one long line and you're just going to run from left to the right of them. And the keys are that your program is going to have various different sort of variables. So first of all, obviously the expected distance that we're going to have sort of in between cones is going to be specified, and obviously the total length will be sort of made from that. And then also what we can do is progress this drill by adding in the distance between cones. So what you might see is obviously 4 cones in a straight line, or what might be specified is 4 cones and then the distance between cones. So obviously you might need up to 8 cones for this, or potentially more. So for instance, you could have 4 cones straight line, 10 meters between each for a 40-meter non-linear run. And obviously what I want you to do is make sure that you start on either side of these cones. How we're going to progress this drill, and what will be written in as your program, is just a distance in between cones. So it might just be, 1 meter, 1 step, whatever the distance is. And all we're then going to do is have another set of cones. Well, what we might do is then just add in these cones here. So we sort of then essentially increase the demand. So we sort of increase the space in between the cones. So obviously now we're going to start on one side, and what we're going to do is we're obviously going to sprint around like this. So this should be quite narrow. I want you guys to still be hitting top speed as best as you can while navigating this course. And the key really to think about with the non-linear running drill is to think of moving your hips around these cones, almost like a motorcyclist does when they're changing direction, or when you're on your cycle, when you just sort of flip your hips from side to side while maintaining high amounts of speed. So that is really it. Obviously, we will start off in this straight line most likely, unless you sort of got some experience or we have a reason to start further up the chain. But then we'll sort of specify, the distance between cones and the distance between cones, both horizontally and vertically. And what I'll probably do is specify, let's just say if we're doing it in a straight line, it'll just be straight line cones 10 meters apart. And then we could have, 4 cones, 1 meter between cones, 10 meters apart, if that makes sense. Any questions, of course, refer to me, but this is how it's going to look. And then all you need to do is basically run in between these cones. Really, when you think about moving like a motorcyclist, just flipping your hips from one side of the cone, so you have a leaning into these turns, trying to maintain as much speed as possible.